It seems like last year we were talking about Star Wars a lot around this time. We had The Mandalorian and we had Rise of Skywalker coming out. And I think the nice thing about Rise of Skywalker is everybody kind of agrees that that film was a mess. Even the people that liked The Last Jedi didn't care for it. And the people that didn't like The Last Jedi didn't care for it. And what's interesting now is apparently we have details for what that outline of the Lucas trilogy would have been. If you remember when Disney bought Star Wars from George Lucas, he gave them a plan for a sequel trilogy. And they decided, well, we're not going to use it. We're going to shelve that. We're not going to use it. And we're just going to do our own thing, which turned out to be a complete disaster. Not everybody hated it, but it definitely fractured the fan base and has put Star Wars in such a bad spot that I don't know if it can ever recover. I don't know. It'll be tough. It'll be tough to say if it will. Maybe that all depends on The Mandalorian at this point. But even with The Mandalorian, I think, I know where everything ends up. So I don't know. I think Disney needs to jump way into the future and just get away from everything. But we now have some details on what could have been, and it's so much better than what we got. How could Disney do this? This would have been easy money, and you would have kept everybody happy, and it would have worked. You got strong women, and there's even a twist by George Lucas. I wonder how it would have worked out. I'd have been okay with it, but let me just show you what's going on here. So this is from this man right here, Paul Duncan. He's got a book coming out called The Star Wars Archives, episodes 1 through 3, 1999 through 2005. And apparently he's claiming that he has the outline for what George Lucas would have done. So Bounding into Comics has pulled everything together here. Here's the little blurb that he has in the book that outlines what his trilogy would have been. And I like it a lot. Let's go over this and then we'll talk about it. Darth Maul trained a girl, Darth Talon, who is apparently in the comics. I can show you what she looks like. This is her right here. She'd have been his apprentice. Who was in the comic books as his apprentice? She was the new Darth Vader, and most of the action was with her. So these were the two main villains of the trilogy. Maul eventually becomes the godfather of crime in the universe because as the Empire falls, he takes over. And that actually kind of makes a lot of sense. You would have a vacuum of power. Naturally, like Yakuza and gangsters or whatever would kind of rise up and take a lot more power because now there's lawlessness. So that actually kind of makes a lot more sense. Makes a lot more sense than a bunch of Sith cultists living on a planet who somehow were able to build hundreds of Star Destroyers. This makes a lot more sense. And this is just a paragraph. So anyway, the movies are about how Leia, who else is going to be the leader, is trying to build the Republic. So it seems like Disney kept that aspect. They still have the apparatus of the Republic, but they have to get it under control from the gangsters. That was the main story. And I actually kind of liked that quite a bit, actually. So it starts a few years after Return of the Jedi, and we establish pretty quickly that there's this underworld. There are these offshoot stormtroopers who started their own planets, and that Luke is trying to restart the Jedi. He puts the word out. So out of 100,000 Jedi, maybe 50 or 100 are left. The Jedi have to grow again from scratch. So Luke has to find 2 and 3-year-olds and train them. It'll be 20 years before you have a new generation of Jedi. By the end of the trilogy, Luke would have rebuilt much of the Jedi, and we would have the renewal of the New Republic, with Leia, Senator Organa, becoming the new Supreme Chancellor in charge of everything, so she end up being the chosen one. And I honestly think people would have been fine with that. Unfortunately, we probably wouldn't have gotten that ending because she did end up passing away. And from what I understand, he was just starting to get the idea to make this trilogy a little bit before Disney took over. Because I remember Mark Hamill actually said he was approached by George I think a little bit before everything went down, said, what would you think about becoming like a mentor character to new characters or something, which kind of lines up with this. You'll have to find that. I'm pretty sure he said that somewhere, Mark Hamill. So I'm not 100% positive on it, but I'm pretty sure he did say that. And then, of course, Disney came in and, well, we got what we got. But I think this is so much better, and it's tough to say how it would have translated. But this is what people wanted. A new Jedi Order with Luke as the leader. A new Republic rebuilt. You want to say Leia was the chosen one? Whatever. No one would have cared because people love Leia. Nobody liked Rey. So, it's just crazy to me. It really is that Disney threw this in the garbage. And I think this is legit. I really do. I think this is the real deal. And I think this is what we would have gotten. Because we do know that outline exists. And I think this is that outline. I think this is the outline to what we would have gotten, to what Star Wars could have been. And imagine how much stronger the brand would be if this had been it. You could have set up new characters. Okay, obviously Luke is now like the Yoda of the series, so he comes in once in a while. You get a couple of young Jedi that go and fight Maul and Darth Talon, and at the end of the day, everybody's happy. You set up new characters, new stories, and you put real closure on that original trilogy. But instead, what did they do? They turned Luke into a hermit loser, a hopeless hermit loser who almost killed his nephew. And Han, a deadbeat dad. They just destroyed the original characters. Destroyed them. And that's not what people wanted. This would have given everybody what they wanted. And you could have stacked money and made money, and this brand would never have been stronger. You'd probably see all kinds of like merchandise selling. You would have the Mandalorian. Well, the Mandalorian could still exist, and it would probably be bigger than it is. Because you would have new fans that were coming in and, because everyone would like the series or like the movies, and it would have grown and made more and more money, and everybody would have been happy. Well, what do they have to do? They had to get those expectations subverted. And in the end, they ruined the franchise and the series. And I don't know if it can ever come back to what it was. I really don't know. I talked about this in a video where I talked about the ratings for season 2 of The Mandalorian, and while they're good, they're not as good as they could have been. There's no reason that series should be eclipsed by The Boys season 2. But it is. Star Wars should have been higher than that. This was a phenomenon of pop culture, and it got ruined by one person, Kathleen Kennedy, who wanted to make the Force female. And what I don't get is you could have still done that right here. Okay, you had a female Darth Vader, basically, from the way she's being described here. And Leia ends up becoming the chosen one. I don't think anyone would have had a problem with that. I wouldn't have had a problem with that. I would have been fine with it. Stupid decisions. Disney, desperate for money right now. And they could have been falling back on all kinds of merchandise right now and making all kinds of revenue off of those movies because everyone would have loved them. Would they have been masterpieces? Probably not. It's really hard to replicate that original trilogy, but you would have pleased the fans of them. And in turn, they would have, gotten their kids more into Star Wars, and they would have loved it, and you could have ensured the franchise keeps going. Now, I don't know if that's going to happen. All that money wasted on this, and for what? So you could make some terrible character named Rey, who nobody liked, it was poorly written, that nobody buys the merchandise of. You could have had Luke end up with Mara Jade. I think that's how you say her name. They could have had babies. You could have made the baby a female, and everybody would have loved her because she's whatever Skywalker. And I know he had kids. I forget the name of his kids, but I never read a lot of the books. So the point is that it would have worked, and everyone would have loved those characters. But you had to go in and just piss all over the trilogy, and you got what you got. Anyway, that's pretty much it. What do you guys think about this? I'm curious to see what you guys think about this outline. Do you think this would have been better? Would you have been on board? I know some people might say, well, Darth Maul. I mean, so people that only watch the movies don't know what happened to Darth Maul, but that could have been explained by just having his lower half as a robot body. People would have just got it. Oh, okay, he lived. Anyway, what do you guys think? I'd like to hear from you. Throw a like up, subscribe. Also, make sure you're still subscribed. Hit that notification bell, and I'll see all of you on the next one. Peace. Also, if you want to help support the channel, check out my Teespring store. There's a link in the description. You can find some merchandise in there that you might want to check out.